Hey, true believers, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And yes, guys, that's right. You read the title, you know exactly what it is that I'm reviewing. This one movie adaptation of a Marvel comic from the 1990s, produced by the late legendary Roger Corman. For us knowing the history of this one piece of Marvel material, in live action, this being a movie, with what this is like, the history of what this movie had gone through, and how, with its infamous releases, and for us discovering and watching it on social media, and just, I gotta say, because it's quite interesting, it really is. What this is like, and just, And in some ways, this not being the best, especially, with the quality of how this is, but, at the same time, this movie does have its lovers, those that do enjoy it. But, so that's right, guys. I am finally reviewing, from 1994, Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four. I guess that's a good way to put at it. Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four, because we all know, of course, that Roger Corman himself, being involved in this very heavily. So, Fantastic Four from 1994. The first ever movie adaptation of something Fantastic Four. I gotta say, and now that I myself had finally watched it, and now I'm reviewing it, it's quite something. It really is. With what the 1994 Fantastic Four film had to offer, and with what it's like, the quality and the budget that this has, the film's cast members, its storyline, and of course, where we see the beginning / origin story of our main cast of characters. And with what goes down in this film, and the budget it has. But, at least, one good thing that came from the budget was, a pretty good, decent-looking practical thing, but more on that later. I don't know, because I don't know if I didn't get into this, or if I think it's okay. Probably more likely, it seems okay. Sure, it may not be the best, and because it's the first ever movie adaptation of something Fantastic Four, but, it's just something about it, with its charm, and to those that, in their opinion, they enjoy it, and hey, you guys are entitled to your opinion, how you feel about this. Just overall, it is what it is. 1994's The Fantastic Four from Roger Corman is pretty interesting for what it is, and, I wasn't getting bored of it, but, when watching it, but, I thought it was okay, Alright, so with the first things I've had to say about, 1994's Fantastic Four out of the way now, as always, for me, read the description / the story. It's a very short one. When dosed with cosmic rays, four intrepid explorers are given incredible powers. Like I literally just said, it was a very short description / the story, so okay, so with now reading the description / the story out of the way, now, first, a little bit of background, because, because, and the way I'm going to talk about the background, because with what I've known, and obviously you as well, at times Marvel has said that, this does not exist, and they are ignoring that this Fantastic Four movie does not exist. In fact, Stan Lee, obviously, he was disappointed in it. Well, not to mention that, before all that, Marvel really had no involvement in the making of this Fantastic Four film. Because with the rights being given to Roger Corman and to just, yeah, do a movie of this, but the fact that this had to be made because the license to do something Fantastic Four on the big screen would expire, just, yeah. And also, yeah, debates between Roger Corman, Stan Lee, and those at Marvel with what each of them have said about the Fantastic Four film and how they each feel about it, and supposedly all copies of this being destroyed and such, but not all of it being destroyed because, yeah, over time, various copies of Fantastic Four have survived from the VHS copies. Those with the VHS copies have transferred it to, like, say, disc. There's been bootleg DVDs of it. And, of course, most prominently, it's made its way out to social media, like most prominently YouTube. But, yeah, that's very interesting because with, again, you know, the history and the making of this Fantastic Four film, the first ever movie adaptation of Fantastic Four, just, yeah. All right, so, yeah, with the bit of background I've had to say, let's get into the film / dive / break it down itself. Here we go. Yeah, because, well, you know, again, this being the start for these characters before they would become whom they are, from Reed, Johnny, Sue, Ben, and Victor. And, well, the fact because, Reed and Victor Von Doom, because they were classmates, and they just so happened to have been, like, studying and, you know, being aware of this, meteor, which, will soon make its way, to Earth. And, yeah, it's this meteor / comet. And it's basically, you know, it's a celestial body, yeah, a comet-like energy source. And they're experimenting it, Reed and Victor, with its cosmic entity. And, yeah, and Reed Richards, being played by Alex Hyde White, and Victor Von Doom being played by Joseph Culp. I think if I'm pronouncing his last name right or wrong. Again, you know me sometimes. So with them experimenting it, and there's a moment where, like, Reed pays a visit to the Storm family's house to get some notes and such. And, yeah, Reed knowing and being friends with the Storm family, and having known Johnny and Susan as kids, jeez, and young Susan and young Johnny, both being played by young Mercedes McNabb and young Philip Van Dyke. And not to mention that young Susan has a crush on Reed. Oh my gosh. Let's not go in the direction, like, say, how people feel when it comes to, like, say, most prominently, the Star Wars prequels, the fact that Anakin and Padme knew each other as kids, and, yeah, especially Padme. She was a bit older than Anakin, so, yeah, you know where I'm going with this, but, yeah. But, yeah, so, with Reed and, again, Victor Vaughn, experimenting on the comet, Colossus, and, well, when they're working on it and in, like, a laboratory and with a telescope and such, well, this would lead to an accident that, yeah, where it would make its way. In fact, everybody is aware of this comet, but with them collecting, you know, the energy source of Colossus, well, again, it leads to an accident. And, well, it basically strikes at Victor Von Doom. And, well, Ben showing up to save Reed and Victor. And, you know, Reed, he didn't do that much because he just stood there and didn't do anything. And Ben Grimm being played by Michael Bailey Smith. Yeah. And after that accident and Victor is sent to the hospital, well, he's presumed to be dead. And, yeah, because, you know, with Reed thinking that he lost his best friend and, you know, science partner, just, yeah, and 10 years pass after that. Jeez. And by this point, yeah, because with Ben on Reed's side now, and they're planning to launch this rocket ship. And, well, they're not gonna go by themselves, just the two of them. It's not just gonna be the two of them, because they're going to have alongside with them Susan and Johnny. Even though they don't have diplomas, they are the only two that are well aware and know about this project and stuff like that both Ben and Reed are doing. And the rocket itself, because it's during, because it's designed by Reed Richards, and it's called Marvel 1, and because they plan to go into space and go into hyperspeed and such, but and little do they know with what's going to happen to all four of them on that rocket, So, older Susan and Johnny, being played by Rebecca Stab and Jay Underwood. Also, we get a brief appearance of their mom, Mrs. Storm, being played by Annie Gagan. I think I'm saying her last name right. So we see her twice. And we don't see her again after that, because it's like, we don't have a moment with her again where, well, obviously she would be at some point during the movie, but we wouldn't see it on camera. She'd be well aware that, her two kids are alive and well, but the fact that they have powers now, But, when they come over to, invite along Johnny and Susan to join them on the rocket, well, and because seeing them older, and because Reed now falls in love with Susan. But again, let's not go there. And with what I said earlier. In fact, Johnny and Susan's mother was the one that came up with a name for all four of them. The Fantastic Four. Predates whom they would become. Roll credits. But so with all four of them getting together, and they will be going on the rocket. It's going to launch today. Well, meanwhile, and we did see this a little earlier, where Victor apparently is alive and well, although he's very badly wounded. Now he wears a mask and such, and with green clothing, and thus he would become Doctor Doom. And he's referred to as Majesty and stuff like that. The high and because of his goons. And by the way, because a moment where they're going to use a crystal. Reed and the others, and because, it has to do something with the rocket and with Colossus. And one of the other antagonists, besides Doctor Doom, is the Jeweler. The Jeweler with one eye, because, he's got, a patch or something, being played by Ian Trigger, sending his goons to swap the diamond with one that looks exactly like the one that Reed and the others are going to use, unbeknownst to them. Which, that's gonna screw up their mission going into space, but, and to speed things up some, because, because when they launch into space, well, something does happen where, the ship goes haywire, and with them going into hyperspeed, and, the cosmic stuff, it starts to hit each of them, and from there on, because, it would change their lives forever, and they wouldn't be the same anymore, the cosmic entity giving them each of their very own powers. But and thankfully after all that, because they did crash back on Earth, and they find themselves, alive and well. However, they start to notice something's off with them. At one point, Johnny, he's happy to see that they're alive, but man, he thought that was awesome when they crashed and so on, But, they're okay, but Reed, he's not happy that, the ship is in entire pieces and such, And a moment where Johnny, he sneezes, but fire erupts because of his sneeze, and just a bit surprised, did I do that? And then when they hear Susan's voice, they can't see her, she's right there close to them, but and that's when they discover and see that she's invisible. Part of her is uninvisible, and when she realizes this too, and she almost trips, and Reed, catching her by stretching out his arms, And nothing's happened to Ben yet. Well, obviously we know what's going to happen to him. It hasn't hit him yet. So, they're stranded out in the woods. You know, I mean, there's no trees, but still, yeah. You know, hopefully there will be those that come to find and bring them back in and such, yeah. And Victor, you know, he hoped that with Reed and the others being on the rocket ship, yeah, because Reed would be dead, but no, Doctor Doom being informed that they're alive and such, and yeah, and for what Doctor Doom's going to do next. And not to mention that what Doctor Doom is going to be doing a little later in this movie, by using a ray gun and using Colossus, and when he finds out that Colossus is in each of the four of them, Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben. By taking the Colossus from them and by putting it in the ray gun and such, and also with the diamonds, going to target New York and, yeah, evil that Doom is going to be doing. This, yeah, unleashing mayhem on New York City. And later on, like, when we come back to Reed, Johnny, Sue, and Ben, because they've made a campfire, and, yeah, each of the conversations they have, up to when, yeah, supposedly, you know, the U.S. Army has shown up to bring them back home, but we then see where Ben, he's now turned into the Thing, yes, and, yeah, the Thing, not being played by Michael Bailey Smith. The Thing is played by Carl Ciarfalio, if I'm getting his last name right. Again, you know me sometimes. Yeah, obviously because he's the body performance, but I presume he's doing the voice, right? Just, yeah. So, by this point, Ben has transformed into the Thing, and thankfully, because, yeah, it doesn't take too long for Reed to tell them to not shoot at Ben, because, you know, it's Ben, and Ben quickly realizing that, yeah, he's become this ugly thing and just, yeah, he's not happy with this. But Reed assuring Ben that they're going to help, they're going to get some help, they're going to be taken care of, just, yeah. And, well, they are escorted to where they're being examined and such, but unbeknownst to them, they're actually being held hostage by Doctor Doom in his castle. And Dr. Hauptmann, I think, yeah, I'm saying the name right, working for Doctor Doom, you know, testing out each of them, the four of them, and with what they can do, giving them, you know, shots, and Dr. Hauptmann being played by Robert Allen Beuth, yeah. And also, can't forget to mention her, because, yeah, I didn't mention her earlier, Alicia Masters, yeah, because before all that, when they got on board the rocket ship, Ben and Miss Masters encountered one another, where Ben accidentally bumped into her because Miss Masters makes sculptures and statues, and you know, making statues and sculptures of people and face molds of them, and well, it's love at first sight for each of them. And Miss Masters being played by Kate Green. Now, Kate Green, yeah, doesn't do that much acting, because from what I've seen, yeah, she's mostly been in the producing business and the music business, and I'm sure you would know that too. But I think, you know, Kate Green, with what she brings to the character of Miss Masters in the first Fantastic Four film, she doesn't do a bad job with, you know, acting in this. I'm just saying. And the same goes for all of them. I don't think that not a single one of them in the first Fantastic Four film do they disappoint. You know, look, they did their very best. And the fact that they were the first cast members to bring to life and portray these characters from Fantastic Four, from Alex Hyde White, Jay Underwood, Rebecca Stabb, Michael Bailey Smith, and Joseph Culp. Yeah, most prominently all five of them. With what they brought to the performances, each of them, to the characters, the main characters of Fantastic Four, they didn't do that bad. Yeah, they did their very best. Yeah, I'll give that to them. And that goes for everybody else, yeah. Like, the Jeweler, a pretty interesting other antagonist of Fantastic Four. And also a professor, oh yeah, because one of the first characters we saw was a professor, teaching the class that Reed and Victor were a part of, and the professor being played by George Gaines. Yeah. And also, yeah, Carl, what's his last name, who played the Thing. Yeah, he also did good too as the Thing, being the body performance and in the practical looking suit of the Thing, and that's the thing about the Thing, because fun fact, with the budget the film had that was given to Roger Corman, it was mostly spent on the practical costume of the Thing. Like, out of all of the effects and everything, the budget this movie had, the one good thing to come from this was the Thing being practical. I mean, I think nowadays, looking at it, golly, comparing that to, say, Michael Chiklis as the Thing in the two Fantastic Four films in the early 2000s. Oh, I mean, obviously, with Michael Chiklis playing the Thing practical, better than, say, the one in the 1994 version, but no hard feelings on how the Thing looked in the 1994 version. No. And obviously, at that time, it looked amazing, right? It looked pretty cool. But, but with the quality and the budget of this film, yeah, it's understandable. Oh, and by the way, because no, the jeweler does not wear like an eye patch or something. It's like an eyepiece or something, to magnify diamonds and jewels. So yeah, my bad. Okay, so continuing on and speed things up still, because yeah, because I mean, what happens next is because they're being held hostage. Well, that's when they realize that something's not right. Something's not right, and thus their attempt to try to escape. And, by knocking out a couple of guys in yellow suits, and they put them on. Ben keeps them busy. I mean, they're unconscious, but still. Ben having some fun with them, like playing cards and such, And with Johnny, Sue, and Reed, sneaking around, and when finding a way to escape and get into the computers and such, but eventually, they managed to escape, and, same goes for Ben, because, breaking through the door, and from there on. And, with them finding themselves in one room where, the ray gun is, and, when Dr. Doom steps in, and still, they have no idea that Dr. Doom is Victor Von Doom, and they still believe that Victor's dead. And the dialogue between all of them, and, most prominently, them finding out that, Dr. Doom wants their powers because of what Colossus gave them, and in order to, activate the ray gun, and again, as I said earlier, to unleash mayhem in New York, to strike at it. If they don't cooperate, then just, But, of course, for Thing, most prominently, he takes down some of the goons of Dr. Doom, which, by the way, Dr. Doom's goons, they're kind of like dressed up like Dr. Doom with the green, fabric and stuff like that, and of course, we have the Thing saying his iconic line, "It's clobbering time." And it seems like that this Thing, he seems to enjoy say it, on account of the other things that just not really always liking saying that line or something. You know what I mean? And most prominently say, the Thing in the MCU's Fantastic Four. I'm just saying. So the fight between the Fantastic Four and Dr. Doom's goons, pretty cool. And, with them escaping, and they head back to Reed's laboratory and trying to figure out, and by taking blood tests and stuff like that. And in fact, because, Dr. Doom left them to be taken care of by his goons, but when he came back, you think that he would just, shout and stuff like that, but no, because when he saw that they escaped, they made a hole in the wall, he's just like, just like, he's perfectly fine with it, okay? Susan, there's one moment it has, Reed's working on their blood and stuff like that. Susan's trying to talk with Reed and how she feels towards him. But for her, she's just too shy to try and talk with him. And right there, when she says shy, that's when Reed starts to realize something, finally put it together. Because with Susan, she's shy, and for Johnny, he's very, hyperactive and, flames and stuff like that. And for Ben, because feeling because of the destructiveness and stuff like that, and, Reed feeling stretching and stuff like that. Well, basically, overall, and point being is that, with what the Colossus did to all four of them, each of them, it did something to them, giving them that describes who they are. And, because, the Colossus touching their psychic, and the character of each of them, it's very interesting, and with how he puts it together. So, each of them, the gifts they have. And Johnny's comment, like a Batman reference. Yeah, holy something Batman, it's great. And, they all seem fine with this and with what Reed discovered, but not Ben, because with what he looks like now, in fact, he leaves for a while, that evening. But, Susan especially hopes that, he'll come back, especially Ben has to cool off and, if he will, come back to them. And a few people in New York that encounter Ben, they're terrified of the sight of him, and one guy working at a restaurant, came out back and was throwing something and told Ben he couldn't stay back here, but and when seeing Ben, and he's the thing, just like, what are you? Poor Ben with how people view him now. And speaking of Ben some more, because coming back to Miss Masters, because there's one moment where earlier she thought at first that, and from what she found out, that Ben is dead, and she was starting to fall in love with Ben, and remembering back when she first encountered Ben. And the warmth and touch from Ben's hands when checking to see if she was okay, after they bumped into one another, accidentally breaking a statue that Miss Masters had. But that all is interrupted when the jeweler's goons come in and capture her, because the jeweler, having a romantic feelings towards Miss Masters, and when bringing Miss Masters to where the jeweler and the others are at, down in the sewers and such, the jeweler's planning to make Miss Masters his queen, and also hence, with swapping the diamonds, Meanwhile, Ben, by this point, he did find his way down in the sewers of New York, where the jeweler and the rest of the jeweler's goons reside, and now becoming one of them, because all of them feeling outcasts and stuff like that from the people of New York. So and to go ahead and name some of the other cast members, like there's Messenger, being played by Patrick Richwood, Busboy, played by Ricky Dean Logan, Trigorin, if I'm saying that right, being played by David Keith Miller, Crackstant, if I said that right, being played by Howard Shangraw, Weasel, being played by Chuck Butto, so that's all of them. And the jeweler being informed that, a new arrival has, made his way here, and, when the jeweler meets Ben, all of that is interrupted when, Dr. Doom shows up and has come for, the piece of the diamond and stuff like that. And, and in this, the jeweler and Dr. Doom, they don't team up or anything like that. So, two villains, doing different things, and, they don't stand a chance towards Dr. Doom and his goons. And when Dr. Doom recognizes Ben, and, Miss Masters discovering that, Ben is alive, but, Ben, not as he appears. In fact, Miss Masters, saying I love you to Ben, and even when, Dr. Doom has, each the jeweler and Dr. Doom had Miss Masters held hostage, and, but when Miss Masters said I love you to Ben, Ben transformed back into his human self. Yeah, we get to see Michael Bailey Smith for a moment, but then he ran away. Then he started to shout and, like, getting flash shots of, the Thing, cutting back to the Thing, to regular Ben, and somehow Ben, he got his powers back as, turning back into the Thing. And thus he tried to take on Doctor Doom to save Miss Masters, but, yeah. Well, that's what he did, but, yeah, and after he turned back into the Thing, as I just said, yeah, he does make his way back to Reed, Johnny, and Susan. By this point, Susan has presented each Reed and Johnny their very own piece of wardrobe, them becoming the Fantastic Four. Yeah. And with Ben showing up, yeah, the family's back together, the Fantastic Four, and thus, all of them coming together and planning to take on Doctor Doom and stop his evilness. Yeah. And, each of them having their reasons to go after Doctor Doom. And in the case of Ben, well, obviously, to save Miss Masters. Yeah. So all of them going to Doctor Doom's castle to take on Doom, and eventually they would discover that, yeah, Doctor Doom is Victor Von Doom, and Victor Von Doom pinning this on Reed, doing nothing, just letting Victor be, electrocuted and becoming who he is, and, Doctor Doom feeling that Reed had betrayed him and such, yeah. And even when, like, say, Doctor Doom had captured all four of them, like force fields, and by taking each of their powers and by putting it, in the ray gun because of the whole thing of Colossus. But, yeah, but somehow, and thankfully, Reed managed to, slip his foot out and to, yeah, destroy and take down all that's in the laboratory and with the ray gun, and another fight begins, and where, Ben, as the Thing, once again says it's clobbering time, and seeing each of them using their powers, from Susan turning invisible, each of the two of Doctor Doom's goons bonk into each other, Johnny using his fire powers, saying flame on. He did discover earlier, the way to unleash his flame powers. And Reed using his flexible arms, yep. And for Ben saving Miss Masters, and, surprisingly, Miss Masters has no problem that Ben has now become the Thing. And, they haven't been properly introduced, and, yeah, they properly introduced themselves, just, yeah, handshake, just, yeah. And, hey, from there on, they would become two lovebirds. Well, what happens next? And by this point, the ray gun is unleashed. They weren't able to shut it off. However, there's still a chance to stop from what's been shot in the ray gun to hit New York. Johnny handles this, flame on and chasing down the ray gun to stop it from targeting and hitting New York, while Reed, most prominently, he goes to stop and confront Doctor Doom. And yeah, because the little, like, talk that each of them have, and when Doctor Doom, he almost falls to his death and such, and Reed, seeing Doom hold on for his life, and, supposedly a bit of Victor Von Doom comes back, because they, calling out to Reed that they were once friends, and just, and if Reed is willing to trust him again, and if there's a ray of hope for Victor Von Doom. And Reed, stretching out his arm and grabbing a hold of Victor's hand, mechanical hand and such, steel hand. But, yeah. Yep, Victor's gone. Now it's Doctor Doom. And, his glove, steel glove is loose, and, yeah, Doom supposedly falls to his death, and yeah, because with the last bit of dialogue, the speech that Doctor Doom gives to Reed, yeah. But obviously, yeah, that's not the last time we would see Doctor Doom, and, well, with what happens next is where, Susan coming up to Reed and just, yeah, overall they think that, yeah, Doctor Doom's been defeated, and Reed sat down Doctor Doom's glove, but it comes to life, so that means that, yeah, Doctor Doom is alive, but the fact that there was never a sequel to this, just, yeah. One of those movies where it would leave off, like, you know, with a note saying that, oh, this character and so on is alive. But yeah, the fact that there would never be a sequel sometimes, and in the case of this, yeah. And also Johnny, taking down the ray gun, New York is safe and sound, just overall, in the end, the Fantastic Four did it. They saved New York, they've defeated Doctor Doom, supposedly, and the last scene is, well, the epilogue/aftermath where we would see Reed and Susan get married. Yep. And in their Fantastic Four wardrobes. Yeah. And they're going off on their honeymoon, and Ben, you know, assuring Reed that, you know, they'll be on their best behavior, him and Johnny, until they get back. And they drive off in the limo. Reed stretched out his arm, waving goodbye, And seeing Miss Masters there. Like I said, Ben and Miss Masters getting together. Yep. That's great to see. And yeah, I mean, that's how the movie ends off. Holy cow, just... You know, 1994's Fantastic Four itself, it is what it is. I think looking at it, and the final thoughts I have to say about it, well, I guess it would seem like a guilty pleasure to watch. Don't you think? Just, I don't know. Like I said earlier, I wasn't getting bored of it. I didn't hate it. I mean, you know, I understood, like, the direction this film was taking, and with its plot line and such, but just, yeah, everything about Roger Corman's Fantastic Four film from 1994, from beginning to end, the storyline, the cast of characters, the budget this film had, some okay, decent effects, and hey, a decent-looking practical thing on screen. The way that each of these characters were portrayed, and the fact that this is the first ever movie adaptation of Fantastic Four. At least gotta give it that. Yeah. Just, you know, overall, everything about 1994's Fantastic Four, produced by the late legendary Roger Corman himself, it is what it is. It's okay. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, it would seem like one of those films that's a guilty pleasure to watch, I guess you could say. And I don't know, like, probably would be in the territory, it's so bad it's good. Probably so, yeah. I mean, I think the same would go for, like, say, the Captain America film that also came out in the 90s. Yeah, that too. And if anybody has seen that, yeah. But that's another story. Yeah, just again, overall, 1994's Fantastic Four, produced by Roger Corman himself. It is what it is. It's okay. Just, yeah. And I'm giving the first Fantastic Four film, yeah, this just, you know, I think this sounds about right. 5 out of 10 stars. Yes, 5 out of 10 stars for 1994's The Fantastic Four. And what about you guys? What did you think of the first ever Fantastic Four film from 1994, produced by Roger Corman? Obviously, most of you being familiar with the work of Roger Corman, producing so many, like, B movies and any film that you've seen that Roger Corman himself has done. And if you've seen Roger Corman act on screen, yeah, that too. When did you first discover and learn about 1994's The Fantastic Four? What was your first impression on it? Like, just seeing the images themselves, and when you did watch the movie itself fully, yeah, I'm very curious to know. Do you have any favorite moments? Do you think the budget for this film was okay? What did you think of, like, say, the practical thing on screen, and with the cast members, the first cast members to portray each of these characters from Fantastic Four? Yeah. And do you give it this where, hey, this is the first ever movie adaptation of something Fantastic Four? You know, there's no denying that, you know, should at least give it some credit that it is the first ever movie adaptation of something Fantastic Four. Yeah. But overall, what do you think of the first ever Fantastic Four film itself from 1994, produced by Roger Corman, with what I've had to say, my review? And yeah, what did you think of my review? I did my best. Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the first ever movie adaptation of the Fantastic Four from 1994, produced by the late legendary Roger Corman. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. Take care, and peace out. It's clobbering time.